So I'm here with Tony Danos. He's a criminal lawyer in Melbourne. He has been practicing since 19...
I've been on my own since 1994.
Okay.
On my own, and the lawyer before that, the legal aid before that. So 20 years on my own.
So you were doing legal aid criminal work?
When now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, back when you first started out?
When I first started, I was doing legal aid criminal work, and
Yeah.
now I work as a lawyer doing private work, but also legally aided work sometimes.
And what made you get into criminal law as opposed to all the other areas of law that you have to study at uni?
I got into it because I wasn't working as a lawyer, and I wanted to get a job back in law, and legal aid was the best place to go to, and I just fell into doing criminal law. So, nothing fancy about my choice, just that it was an available job, and liked it and kept going.
And how do you see the role of criminal lawyers in society? Is there anything... So there's nothing fancy or philosophical about the choice, but now that you've had the chance to get into it, do you see, like...
I think criminal lawyers have an important role in making sure that defendants' rights are upheld, representing clients who, if they didn't have competent representation, might just be found guilty when they shouldn't, or go to jail when they shouldn't. They fulfil that role as representing people to make sure that they get good representation in the courts.
Do you, well, how do you feel about defending people that you probably think are guilty, but you might have to say they're not guilty?
Look, most people plead guilty
Yeah.
in cases, so it's not a case of me representing people that are not guilty, that are not guilty, and it's very hard in any case to know a person's guilty anyway, because what is guilt? It's when a jury find them guilty. A person might say, I didn't assault them, because I was acting in self-defence. So it's not a case where you think that they're guilty of jumping on someone's head. You don't usually feel that sort of conflict that you're getting people off, because in the end you don't make that decision. The court does, the jury does, the magistrate. They're the ones that decide on guilt or innocence, and we just present the case.
So you sort of detach yourself?
Well, you look. You're not necessarily helping people are guilty, because you don't know who is guilty.
And they usually don't tell you.
Well, it's not about them telling me. I mean, look, they'll tell you they're involved in an incident. They'll tell you that yes, they might have hit somebody, yes, they might have stabbed somebody, but they'll say it was in self-defence. So it's not they admit to their role often, but then and it's up to us to see if they have a valid defence. A lot of people plead guilty anyway.
Yeah.
Out of all the clients, I'd say a small percentage only plead not guilty.
Yeah.
The rest you are in damage control.
Yeah. And how... I've got a case here of some person called Tony Danos who went to the High Court in... Dixon. Was that you or some other person who called Tony?
That was my case.
So that was you arguing it, or was that...
the barrister. Was Tom Danos. Yeah, my brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that was my client.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an ex-federal placement.
Okay, so is that one of the more prominent or serious cases you've had? Or?
Serious? Not really.
Yeah.
Not serious. I mean,
that was just stealing.
If you talk serious, murder's more serious.
Yeah.
This happens to be prominent because I went to the High Court, but it wasn't more serious. If you talk about the consequences and the possible jail time, it was much. I've had many more serious than that. He just happened to have a point of law that was arguable to the High Court.
I'll just get to the next question, which is any areas of reform. Like, you've been to the criminal system a lot and you've seen things happen. Is there anything that you would say might need to be changed? Not necessarily the example I've listed there about legalizing drugs, but something else, like anything else that you think? Or is it relatively working okay?
Look, I suppose there are really minor crimes. I can't think of any whether,
Yeah. Do you think that people sometimes don't get a fair trial?
Begging. No, I think, well, I think people don't get a fair trial if they're not represented, and
Yeah.
with legal aid having cutbacks, that might lead to that. Not so much in the county court, but so when you talk about a trial, in the magistrates' court, people are now having to represent themselves. That might be difficult. In the county court, everyone will be generally legally aided, so at least they get, a lawyer to represent them, so they get usually a fair trial. It's the magistrates' court. Legal aid's guidelines have changed, cutting down on expenditure, cutting down on who they represent. That flows on to and people might end up having to plead guilty when they might not need to.
And is there any case that really stands out in your mind that's difficult or challenging or interesting from out of all the years that you've practiced? I've got a lot of examples in paper, but like anything that youth would say is one of your best cases or most interesting cases?
Challenging, interesting.
Or
A lot of them are challenging. Interesting. What about interesting cases in the magistrates' court?
yeah.
I mean, you get the serious cases in the county court, but are they interesting? Some are. But often it just becomes down to factual defences or defences of consent or...
Is your demographic mostly Anglo-Saxon, or do you have a wide range of people?
No, I'd say 60% would be Anglo-Saxon, the rest would be other nationalities, Indian, Chinese, Asian.
And how do you deal with the mental health issues, if any? Or do you think that it's not really an issue for you?
It is an issue but that would be more in the criminal cases.
Yeah. The more serious cases.
The more serious cases, often that's an issue. If you go to any jails, you probably see that 80% of mental health issues or drug issues in jail. In some clients, it is an issue. You deal with it, refer them to professionals, get them counselling if you can. See a psychologist.
Okay. All right, I think that's pretty much it. I probably won't go into all these because you probably have other stuff to do.
Which
but
one?
I was going to talk about these.
The jet ski shut off. How did you know that one?
I've got all these articles on the internet about you.
Oh, yeah,
so I just
jet
print
ski.
them.
I did that. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, is there anything you want to mention? Otherwise, you can just.
I'll quickly go through them. The truckie sent to jail for 100 driving offences. Well, they got about 6 months jail on appeal. But
So what did he initially get? Like.
I can't remember, 9 or something.
Oh yeah, okay.
Something like that. He got 6 months on appeal.
Oh, 17-month term.
But no, not max.
So tell me about the Tony Angel one. He killed his wife and his kids in a car accident, and he pleaded guilty to dangerous driving. That must have been difficult emotionally, and you must have a lot of other cases like that as well, but that was particularly...
Well, that was particularly difficult because he was charged with culpable... happened near Geelong, he was charged with culpable driving. He hit a train, he wasn't speeding, but they were relying on the fact that there were speed humps, there was signs, boom gates were down. They relied on a number of factors to say that he was culpable. No alcohol or speed involved, other than he was going the speed limit, but and that was difficult because he killed his wife and daughter. He had a son or two still alive. He didn't want to go to jail. But clearly, it was whether he should plead guilty to something, run the trial. It ended up that they agreed to downgrade it to dangerous driving causing death and not push for a jail sentence, which he took, and he got a suspended sentence. But he lost his licence too. So that sort of case is difficult in as much that you're on the border between should you run it, take a risk, and get off everything, or do you plead guilty and get the guaranteed no jail? And it was hard because
And that's a decision that comes with experience mainly, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it comes with experience and also got advice from a QC at the time, which I think said, take the suspended sentence if you can, so that's what he did. Would have been expensive if you run it too. He wasn't that fault.
Yeah.
So that it was difficult. Yeah, they're the difficult ones where you're in between whether you should run it, plead guilty, get your discount for pleading. They're difficult in in that respect, well, yeah, you base it on your experience and
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, and like, how do you deal with the emotional factors, or is that just something you're used to now? Like,
I think I'm just used to it.
yeah,
I think I'm just used to it now.
yeah,
But some cases are harder. I'm trying to think of ones that emotional are harder. I can't think of any emotional. That would be in the top end of difficult cases because there's no victim. The family of the parents of the deceased mother or his wife were supportive at court, helping their son-in-law. There's no victim, just him. He was the victim and the defendant, and that was difficult. I did a case recently for a guy who killed a person turning right on Bell Street and hit an oncoming car. Went to the interview with him. This is going back a year ago, year and a half. Went to the interview. He was eventually charged with careless driving. We went to Heidelberg Court a few weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. He got a fine, lost his licence. The family were there from the victims, but he didn't. The worst that happened to him was licence loss on a phone.
okay.
That's not as difficult as the Geelong one where you're looking at jail.
Yeah.
Everyone's on the same page as far as trying to help.
Okay, so thanks a lot for speaking to me. If you have anything else to add, or
No.
that's it? All right. So switch this off.